The flicker of a laptop screen, an oasis of blue light in the otherwise impenetrable blackness of the deep web, illuminated a digital bazaar unlike any other. Here, an anonymous market, known only to its denizens, thrived between 2011 and 2013. It was a phantom entity, a clandestine marketplace where illicit goods and forbidden services, drugs, counterfeit documents, even contract killings, were exchanged, all rendered in the sterile, untraceable language of cryptocurrency. The very architecture of this digital shadow realm, built upon layers of encryption, and the anonymizing veil of the Tor network, fostered an illusion of invincibility. It seemed untouchable, a ghost in the machine, operating beyond the reach of any terrestrial law. Yet, beneath the veneer of absolute anonymity, a complex, multi-layered investigation was quietly, persistently, weaving its net. This was not a tale of brute force or a single lucky break. It was a symphony of digital forensics, old-school fieldwork, and a quiet observation of human error, a potent cocktail that would eventually unravel an empire of code. The challenge was immense, a hydra with 1,000 heads, each more elusive than the last. Law enforcement agencies, a consortium of the FBI and their international counterparts, found themselves in uncharted territory. They were not pursuing a physical trail of footprints in the dust, but the ephemeral echoes of data packets, the ghostly imprint of transactions on a decentralized ledger. Their pursuit of the electronic ghost required a paradigm shift. They delved into the labyrinthine pathways of digital currency, meticulously mapping every transaction, dissecting server logs, and reconstructing intricate digital footprints. It was a painstaking process of connecting the digital to the physical, translating lines of code into actionable intelligence, and identifying the subtle, often overlooked, human elements that tethered the ethereal to the tangible. The anonymity that was the market's greatest strength also harbored its inherent weaknesses. The small oversights, the moments of hubris, the inevitable missteps of those who believed themselves beyond detection. This investigation was a testament to the evolving nature of crime and the parallel evolution of justice. The architects of this digital underworld operated with a chilling detachment, shielded by the perceived invincibility of their creation. They had, in essence, built a fortress within the Internet's hidden strata, believing that its technological defenses would render them permanently out of reach. Yet, the story that unfolded was not solely one of technological prowess. It was equally a narrative of human nature, of ambition, and of the psychological cracks that invariably appear under sustained pressure. The administrators and their collaborators, despite their sophisticated tools, were still human. They made choices, they exhibited habits, they engaged in communication, and in doing so, they inadvertently left breadcrumbs, fainter than a whisper, but significant enough to be followed by persistent, dedicated pursuers. The stage was set for a modern-day manhunt, one that would blur the lines between the virtual and the real. The arrest of Ross Ulbricht, the suspected architect behind the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, in a San Francisco public library in October 2013, was a moment of profound symbolism. Surrounded by agents, his laptop, the very instrument of his digital empire, still open before him, he was apprehended not in a darkened server room or a remote hideout, but in a place of public access, a stark contrast to the hidden world he had so carefully constructed. The immediate seizure of his equipment and the forensic preservation of its contents represented a critical juncture, providing tangible evidence that would become the cornerstone of the legal battle ahead. This act wasn't merely an arrest. It was a symbolic tearing down of the digital veil, a demonstration that no sanctuary, however technologically fortified, was truly absolute. The ramifications of this operation extended far beyond the courtroom. The case ignited a global conversation, probing the very foundations of privacy in an increasingly digital world, questioning the sovereignty of emerging cryptocurrencies, and challenging established notions of jurisdiction in a borderless online space. It posed a fundamental question. How could justice be dispensed for crimes committed across servers scattered across the globe, existing in a realm that defied traditional geographical boundaries? The success of this operation served as a potent and perhaps unsettling revelation. The digital frontier, despite its perceived impenetrability, was not an unassailable refuge. It proved that with unwavering investigative persistence, meticulous digital forensics, and, crucially, robust international cooperation, Even the most sophisticated anonymous enterprises could be dismantled. The collapse of this particular market sent ripples through the entire ecosystem of dark web marketplaces. New platforms, often more brazen and volatile, emerge in its wake, while others face similar scrutiny and eventual dismantling. The ongoing cat-and-mouse game between those seeking to conceal their illicit activities through technological means and those working to uncover them through digital forensic science intensified, pushing the boundaries of innovation on both sides. The story of this anonymous market became a modern parable, a narrative woven from the threads of ambition, cutting-edge technology, and the relentless pursuit of truth. It underscored the power of forensic engineering to confront and apprehend perpetrators, not by luring them into a trap, but by meticulously dissecting their own domain, their own habitat, to expose them to the light of justice. The operational strategy pivoted from broad strokes to granular detail, acknowledging that even the most sophisticated anonymizing technologies possess inherent, often subtle, vulnerabilities. Investigators recognized that while the Tor network itself provided a robust layer of obfuscation, the endpoints, the devices and human users interacting with it, remained susceptible. Now, consider how this applies when you face a decentralized network of users. Their individual digital hygiene, or lack thereof, became a crucial battleground. Law enforcement meticulously began to scrutinize the peripheral elements, understanding that the how of the system's operation, rather than just its existence, offered pathways in. This involved delving into the metadata associated with transactions, examining timestamps, IP address proxies, and the subtle patterns of activity that distinguish legitimate browsing from the clandestine operations of the Silk Road. It was akin to understanding that even if a secret passage is perfectly concealed, the dust disturbed by its constant use by the same individuals will eventually betray its location. Furthermore, the investigation recognized that the administrators, despite their efforts to maintain a professional distance, would inevitably need to interact with the physical world for personal needs. This realization shifted a portion of the investigative focus from purely digital surveillance to more traditional, albeit technologically augmented, methods. It involved profiling the likely characteristics of individuals who would possess the technical acumen and the risk tolerance to operate such a venture. This profiling, while not an exact science, allowed for the narrowing of potential suspects and informed the deployment of more targeted surveillance, both online and offline. For instance, observing patterns of high-volume cryptocurrency acquisition and subsequent dispersion, linked to specific geographic or demographic indicators derived from initial digital analysis, became a powerful tool. It's not about knowing who they are, but about understanding the probable contours of their existence. Building on this, however, was the acknowledgement of the human element in system administration. Even the most meticulous coders and system architects are prone to error, especially under the immense pressure of operating a highly illegal, high-stakes enterprise. The investigation began to look for what might be termed digital fingerprints left behind by the operators themselves. This could manifest in subtle coding inconsistencies, the reuse of specific encryption keys or algorithms across different components of the network, or even the choice of obscure, personal preferences that might inadvertently leak into system configurations. Imagine a master thief who, despite his skill, always hums a particular tune while picking a lock. That subconscious habit, when observed, can become a crucial identifier. The Silk Road operators, in their quest for perfect anonymity, inadvertently created a unique operational signature. Consequently, a significant portion of the investigative effort involved a deep dive into the very infrastructure supporting the dark market. This included not just the visible servers, but the ancillary services, the communication channels, and the financial pathways that facilitated its operation. Every interaction, every connection, no matter how fleeting, was scrutinized. This was more than just tracing money. It was about mapping the intricate web of dependencies that allowed the Silk Road to function. If one node in this complex network faltered, or if a single service provider experienced a breach, it could create a cascade of information, revealing connections that were otherwise buried deep within the encrypted layers. It was a painstaking process of finding a single loose thread that, when pulled, could unravel the entire tapestry. Reflecting on this intricate journey, the converging lines of inquiry begin to reveal a broader landscape, one where the seemingly impenetrable fortresses of the digital realm are revealed to possess latent vulnerabilities. The persistent nature of the investigation, like a meticulous cartographer charting unknown territories, has demonstrated that even the most sophisticated enclaves of anonymity are not entirely immune to persistent gaze of scrutiny. The effort invested in mapping ethereal connections has yielded tangible insights, illustrating how the invisible threads of data, when diligently followed, can lead to the undeniable anchor points of the physical world. This convergence, conceptualized as a slow but inexorable tide, has begun to erode the perceived absoluteness of digital detachment. As these disparate investigative threads are woven together, a pattern emerges, suggesting that the architects of such hidden enterprises, despite their technological prowess, remain fundamentally bound by human tendencies and the inherent limitations of any system. The edifice of anonymity, built on complex encryption and decentralized networks, is not an unassailable monolith, but rather a structure composed of many interconnected parts, each susceptible to its own unique form of pressure. The painstaking reconstruction of operational flows, reminiscent of assembling a vast, intricate puzzle, has illuminated how even the smallest disruption in this interconnectedness can create a ripple effect, propagating through the entire system and exposing heretofore unseen pathways. In light of these accumulated insights, the path forward, leading towards the ultimate comprehension of the case's resolution, becomes clearer. The persistent exploration of these digital and human intersections has demonstrated that the illusion of invincibility often masks a more fragile reality. The sheer accumulation of data, meticulously gathered and analyzed, transforms the ephemeral into the concrete, the abstract into the undeniable. This process, akin to sunlight gradually piercing a dense fog, gradually dissipates the obscurities that once shielded the operations, revealing the underlying mechanisms and the individuals who orchestrated them. The narrative arc now points towards a conclusive understanding of how this carefully constructed veil was ultimately rendered transparent. The story of the Silk Road, born in the encrypted shadows of the deep web, was never merely about the illicit trade of goods. It was a profound exploration of the boundary between freedom and control, a digital frontier where anonymity was currency and the law seemed a distant echo. The painstaking efforts to unravel this intricate web, a testament to human ingenuity and collaborative spirit, reveal a fundamental truth: that the most sophisticated architectures of concealment ultimately founder on the shores of human imperfection and the relentless pursuit of accountability. It was not a single stroke of brilliance, but a symphony of persistent investigation, a chorus of digital forensics, international cooperation, and a quiet observation of inevitable human error that ultimately dismantled this phantom empire. The arrest in that San Francisco library, surrounded by the very technology that had promised him sanctuary, served as a stark, resonant symbol. It was a physical manifestation of the digital net closing, a potent reminder that the veil of anonymity, however thick, is not an impenetrable shield. This endeavor illuminated a crucial paradigm shift in the understanding of justice. The case demonstrated that the digital realm, once perceived as an untamable wilderness beyond jurisdictional reach, is in fact a landscape that can be meticulously mapped and ultimately governed. The architects of this digital bazaar believed their creations were beyond the grasp of earthly law, yet their downfall proved otherwise. The intricate dance between encryption and forensic analysis, between virtual transactions and tangible evidence, underscored that the digital world, while offering new avenues for illicit activity, also provides unprecedented tools for investigation. It is a dynamic, ever-evolving battleground where technological innovation on one side is met with equally sophisticated countermeasures on the other, a constant push and pull that defines a modern pursuit of justice. The operation's success was not just a victory for law enforcement. It was a powerful assertion that the principles of accountability and due process could extend into the deepest layers of the Internet. The lasting impact of this investigation transcends the dismantling of a single marketplace. It has irrevocably altered the landscape of online crime and its countermeasures, sparking a continuous arms race between those who seek to exploit the Internet's anonymity and those dedicated to upholding its integrity. The case has served as a foundational text, a modern legend in the annals of digital forensics, inspiring subsequent operations and reinforcing the notion that no digital fortress is truly impregnable. It has broadened the conversation about privacy, cryptocurrency, and the very definition of jurisdiction in the 21st century, forcing a global reevaluation of how laws are enforced in an increasingly interconnected world. The echoes of this pursuit resonate, a constant reminder that while technology may offer new refuges for illicit activities, human persistence, combined with technological prowess, remains the ultimate arbiter of justice, proving that even the most elusive phantoms can be brought to light. The true practice begins now, in a vigilant application of these lessons to the ever-evolving digital frontier.